Started out on Broadway, off-Broadway, and
Yes.
You've been doing the TV scene out on the West Coast for many, many years. Do you miss doing the live shows? Do you miss
No.
Broadway? Not at all.
No. We do have an audience at our show.
Mm-hmm.
And,
Isn't that a fixed crowd, though,
a
essentially?
fixed crowd? What do you mean? No, they're nice people who write in a year in advance for
But
tickets.
all those
Oh,
wheelchairs out in the lobby.
Relatives and...
sick.
That woman that sent in the song wasn't fixed, was it?
Oh, no. There's a lady well, no. She came to the show, and she raised her hand, and she said, I've written a song for you.
Mm-hmm.
So I called her up on stage, and I said, well, sing it. And she said, no, I want you to sing it. And there was something about her, and maybe it was her name. It was Sue Vogelsanger was her name. And she was a school teacher, I think, and she was quite appealing and sweet. And I don't know why, and everybody wanted to kill me on the show because we hadn't heard the song or anything. I said, I'll do it. And so we staged it, and she and her husband flew back out to California. We gave it a big old production, and they came out, and she was all in tears, and the whole thing, we did a whole big old number.
She's still living in the valley.
Well, the one thing, as we were commenting, the one thing that's unique about Broadway is that it all really stands or falls on a single evening with the preparation for months beforehand.
On a single paper, strangely enough.
Yeah, well, at least there's an advantage. You mentioned London with more papers. At least there are more critics. One of the things about
The worker can hurt you.
New York is that it's a handful of papers and mostly just one.
Yeah.
It is.
Do you ordinarily, do you know beforehand whether you have a hit or a flop? In other words, do you ever get into a situation in which you're sure that you got a hit, and then
Yes.
after opening night you realize that
I was in a show
disaster?
called Marinka, which was a smash out of town. Everybody's still humming it, actually.
Only yesterday.
It was, they said it was another Oklahoma. They said that about Sadie Thompson, too. We lasted 5 weeks.
The shows I've been connected with, each one was different. In Bye Bye Birdie, we knew, I think we were a smash, because out of town it was.
Yes, but the owner of the Martin Beck Theater didn't, did he?
No, but we did.
Because he had booked us into the theater for, I think, about 2 or 3 months at the most, and they were going to kick
Then
us
we had to
out because they
vacate the
figured we'd be...
They were sure nothing was going to happen.
Golden Boy was always a hit because Sammy was a sensational draw.
Sammy's so strong.
But actually, out of town, we did so much rewriting, and the show was in disastrous trouble for a long time.
That's something that I'd like to say, which is owing to the fact that it is a salute. It's your day today, Charlie.
Oh, I wouldn't call it that exactly.
The joyous thing, you always tell, and Carol knows this too, having worked together in a show, we did a show together in New York. The pressure writers out of town who can come up with the right material that is in keeping with the original theme, and it doesn't sound strange or foreign, put into a show.
You're talking about the doctoring? You mean,
Yes,
you mean
Charlie
after
and
the
Lee are
rewriting?
marvelous
Yes.
closet pressure writers, and there aren't few. It's a mark of a pro, and they're marvelous.
That's a great compliment.
about that.
We wrote a lot in stock. It's a form of theater where it's part of a resort area, and that's where Carol and I
first met.
where
Is that
Carol and I
Tenement?
first met.
You've worked together.
Green
Yes,
Mansion.
Green Mansion.
we worked together in a place called Green Mansions.
There we did
We did a
a
lot of
musical
failures,
review.
but a lot of
Which
good
becomes
things.
becomes experience.
We did an original musical review, a variety show, a play, and an opera a week.
A week.
4 different.
That's
I
true.
don't mean the same ones each time. Each week would be a different
Lee
one.
Adams and I had to write every week a new review. Now that meant an opening number, a boy-girl song, 1 or 2 comedy numbers, a trio, and a closing number. And it was very hard. And we did the orchestrations and everything. The point being that it was a lot of fun, but the further point being that we somehow got honed by
So
failure.
working under that kind of pressure.
And, the
And you
thing
were
is,
in
too,
opera there?
I was
Wasn't
in
it-
She was
opera.
yes.
No,
She did everything. That's where she cleaned
Sure,
up.
yeah, no, and what was so funny, too, is the fact that all these people who come up to Green Mansions, they're like secretaries and people who save for all year for these 2 weeks to get a husband. It's all the singles weekend, so that if the show isn't good, they don't pay to get in. It's just a
They're
feature of the
captive audience.
resort.
Actually, it was a
Therefore, they go out
forerunner
in a
to your
canoe if it
world.
stinks.
They're a very tough audience.
Oh, it's
and,
the toughest audience.
because they're there only for sex.
They were great for me. And Saturday night was what we called slave market night. All these single girls would stand on one side of this huge hall with a wonderful Casa Loma orchestra. And we'd stand on the other, and they'd say, "Now, and we'd all run. I always ended up with the band leader. I don't know.
But that's another story.